I'm Nathan Hipsch, and I'm in the house.
Let's go. Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
It's happening again, Dan.
It is.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dan. Happy birthday to you.
That's not embarrassing. Coach, fantastic win.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think.
All right, this is the Zaleski Sports Show here on Zaleski Sports. My first time, Cale Jacoby. Glad to be here alongside Dan Ross. Dan, it's your belated birthday, right? Your birthday yesterday?
My birthday's today.
Your birthday's actually today.
Actually,
okay.
today, yeah. The marathon boys didn't know it, but yeah, fantastic. They wished me happy birthday. It was a good night for marathon.
Yeah, it wasn't awkward at all, you said there before you.
Yeah, it's not embarrassing.
Not embarrassing.
Last year, Jason actually had the entire gym sing to me.
Oh my goodness.
And they had a huge birthday cake, and they sliced it up into like 100 pieces. It was.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Rachel had a huge one, and then they like sang it over the microphone as a gym. Like the people in Auburndale are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I second that. I'll second that notion. Yeah, I know you sent a message. I was expected to bring you a cake today, or you said there was big expectations from last year. You talked about the cake, and I dropped the ball. I didn't bring anything. I just brought you my presents today. That's
is better than cake.
Yep. So you're gonna have to guide me through this whole show
Yeah,
today. This
absolutely.
is my first time. This is the Jason Zaleski chair. I got big shoes to fill today, but
You are a lot better looking than Jason.
Oh, thank you. I don't know about that, but I appreciate you saying that. But we got a lot to get into today. We're going to get through rankings as we do every single week on this show. Where again, you can, if you're a Zaleski Sports VIP, I believe $5 a month is the price for that. You can access all the rankings. We'll get into the top 10s for boys and girls basketball today, and some movement actually last week. Some big games we'll get into that happened over the last week, and then we'll go through the schedule coming up on Zaleski Sports. As always, we've got wide coverage across the state of Wisconsin. That's what we got here today.
Yeah, it's all yours, and it's all now.
All right, we're set to get underway. One thing I didn't mention that we'll have today, obviously, your Marewood Minute. You do every single.
We do have a Marewood Minute.
Every single week, Marewood Minute will be at the end of the show or towards the end of the show. But Dan, I know you just did a pretty big game last night. Speaking of the Marewood, I'm sure you'll get into that a little bit later. But Marathon claims top spot in the Marewood South so far to start this season. There were a lot of big games here this week, and we'll get into them. A lot of them have to do with ranked teams. We're going to get into those rankings in just a second. But again, Marathon comes out with that win. Big story, I guess I can talk about that I was at last night.
Yeah, I want to hear this because I was surprised by the news.
So Emmett Konechny, as I think most of you out there know, has not been in the Columbus Dons boys basketball lineup for about a month and a half after a vehicle collision there, and he suffered some injuries there. And last night, actually yesterday, I think I was getting ready to go to the Columbus game, and Jason called me. And he said, hey, I just got off the phone with Coach Konechny at Columbus, and Emmett's going to play tonight. And I was shocked to hear that because I had talked to Coach Konechny, had the pleasure of doing the Dons, all the Dons games this season. Talked to him the week before, and he said it'd be maybe a week or two before he got back. So I knew it was coming soon, but to know it was like 4 days later, he got the doctor clear, good to go for full contact, full game activity. And saw him last night. He was on a minutes restriction. He played about 3-4 minutes. And then kind of came out there. For those of you that aren't familiar, Emmett Konechny, probably the Columbus Dons' best player, definitely in that conversation. And the Dons we'll get into the rankings, but they were number 2 in the state of Wisconsin last week for Division V boys basketball. And they've been that without him in the lineup, which has been just incredibly impressive to watch.
Yeah.
The Dons play this year. Guys like Charlie Moore, Blake Jacoby, could go on and on. They got scores galore on that team. But Emmett Konechny was the story last night because he came back. Talked with Coach before the game, then on the sidelines, going through starters and just talking about the games as we do before these games. And he said, yep, we're just going to see what he looks like. There wasn't really expectations. And And it was just kind of, we're going to see what he looks like, play him some minutes, see how he handles it. Obviously, getting his feet back under him. It's not easy to go out and play a game after you haven't touched the court in a month and a half. And I started the broadcast by saying, let's temper expectations coming into this. That we know how good of a player he is, but this is a month and a half break. So let's not expect him to, he's got to take some time to work back into the offense, get back into the defensive rotations. Obviously, you know how that, everything like that goes. It's not easy to just work that back right away. And about as soon as I said that, he came up and hit a pull-up 2-point jump shot. And there was a foul on the play, too, that was against the other team. And he comes back down a couple possessions later, knocks down a 3, comes back down a couple possessions later, knocks down another 3. And before you know it, we're into the second half, and he's 6 for 6 with, 14 points and 4 threes. 4 for 4 from the 3-point line, and he finished with 18 points, 7 for 8 from the field. It was pretty crazy to watch. Just I was not expecting that I don't know if he played 13 minutes in that game and 18 points like that.
Yeah, I mean he's the conference's best player.
Yes.
Right. So Columbus, yes, but really the Clover Belt's best player.
Yes.
Right. If there were a preseason vote, he would be the best player in the conference. And not a lot of people knew about it, right? Because there's nothing more heartbreaking than a high school kid, especially a senior, who gets hurt.
Yep.
Right? Jaden Awe.
Yes.
He's a junior, so he'll be back next year. But having someone lose 25% of their high school career, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And a lot of people didn't know the seriousness or the reason why he wasn't playing. A lot of it has to deal with high schoolers and being minors sometimes, and we just can't share everything that we know. But when I heard last night that he was back in the lineup, it made me feel so good. Like I have goosebumps just thinking about it because of how tragic it was, and awesome for the Konechny family, right? So glad that everybody is going to be okay and it's all good. But yeah, really scary situation. Awesome that he's back.
Yeah, and I talked with Coach Konechny after the game about that. And yeah, he just, I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember his exact words, of course, but just talking about, how appreciative he was of the medical staff that helped him out, and the fact that he's able to get back on the court, as quickly as he was able to, given, what the thought maybe could have been at that time. It was just, like you said, goosebumps. It was awesome to see. It was great to be in the building that night. He got a standing ovation, and the crowd was going crazy just when he got out onto the court. To start that game, and just that was cool enough that he was back out on the court. But then to see him play as well as he did, that was pretty cool. And then after the game, he's all business. He's all business after the game, and ready to try to get this Dons on a late season run as the season goes along. So it was cool to see that last night. But we had quite a few other big games along with that. I mean, Columbus, they beat Regis, for the record. I don't think I brought up who they played.
Regis is a good opponent.
Yes, yeah. That was it was really close for a while. Regis played, having been at all of Columbus's games, they play Columbus as well as any non-D3 or above school has played them. Yeah. This year, as almost any school has. Prairie du Chien and Brookfield Academy, who obviously beat them, probably played them the best this year. Those are two D3 schools, and Regis came in there as a member of the Clover Belt West, and it was a 1-point lead for Columbus at halftime.
Saw that
in that game, and they got a really good sophomore kid, Blake Risler, who had 18 points in the first half, averaging 20 a game this year. He was great to see last night. So there was a game that was played. The story was Emma Konechny, but the Dons did get another win, and they improved to 11-1 overall. But
and Coach Konechny shut him down in the second half, didn't he?
Yes. The second half, I want to say he had 2 or 3 points in that second half. Yep, and yes, it was Matt Konechny got the matchup on him. He's been a really good defender, a sophomore for them all year, and Blake Jacoby, I think, drew a couple matchups with him. So yeah, second half there were clearly some adjustments, and that's what you get with a team like the Dons, coached by.
He's a fantastic coach.
Yes, coached by Joe Konechny, absolutely. But there was really a few big games that since the last time that we had this show, or you and Jason were on here last week.
Yeah.
Assumption beat Neilsville girls for I think the first time ever.
First time
right?
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched the game, quite a bit of it. And Assumption wasn't really pushed. They led the entire way. And I was a little surprised. I was a little surprised that Neilsville struggled with the pressure as much as they did. Not a whole lot different than past years. It seems like Opelt, fantastic player. But maybe not as much help as they've had in the past. Really struggled shooting, really struggled against the zone, had a hard time getting easy shots out of it. A lot of kudos goes to Coach Klein and what he's built over there, obviously.
Yep.
They are 12-0. They have a big one Friday. They go to Aquinas.
Yep.
I would say that Aquinas is a step above them, but who knows, right? That's why we play the games. And I will and have kind of a snide remark about that in the Marywood Minute today about that not being on Zaleski Sports.
Okay. Well, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the snide remark. I think Aquinas is a Davis sister, right? Am I right about that? I think so. She was on the volleyball team.
I think so.
I'm guessing she's probably on the basketball team as well. Good volleyball player. But you're right. A big matchup for Assumption. And then your team, the Marathon Red Raiders. I mean, now we'll get into that later. But you can maybe get into more specifics if you want. But maybe hold off your best material on that for the Marywood Minute. But they beat Auburndale last night, and Auburndale a ranked team number 6, I think, going into that game.
Yeah, Auburndale number 6, Marathon number 4. Both teams undefeated in the Marywood coming in. Those of us that have seen Marathon play know that Marathon's a good squad this year.
Yes.
Which is why they're the all-access team, boys and girls, because we thought that it would be something special this year, and it has been. 12-0, halfway through the schedule, went on the road against the other undefeated team and definitely looked the part. The number 4 ranking is probably a little bit low. I think they're number 2 in the coaches poll.
Maybe this bumps them up, maybe a spot or 2.
It should, right? And we're going to talk about rankings, and a lot of that is strength of schedule, and obviously last night's win is going to really prop it up.
Yep.
But it ended up being a 21-point win, a convincing win.
Yeah.
Grant Warren is out of this world.
Yes. I'm familiar with him, of course. I think everybody should be familiar at this point with Grant Warren, I hope.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Absolutely. And I mean, he gets his points. He gets his 16, 20 points, whatever it is. Probably 10, 12 rebounds a game, couple blocks. But even beyond that, teams cannot shoot inside 4 or 5 feet, right? And when they try, he's in their heads that the shot's going to get blocked. And I have never seen, last night, I don't think I've ever seen a team miss so many 2 to 3 foot shots so badly, right?
Auburndale last night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Grant is there, and even though he's not even trying to block the shot, the guards of Auburndale know that he's there, right? So they feel like the shot trajectory has to be higher off the backboard, get it up quicker, and he just causes a lot of havoc. So congratulations to Marathon. It's one of the tougher games on their schedule, I would say. Auburndale does have a chance at redemption the very last game of the year. So Auburndale can win out, and they will share the conference championship with Marathon this year.
Yeah, and there's obviously, that was Marathon's last game of the year last year was against Auburndale, and that's, again, I can speak to experience when you get beat by a team, especially a conference team the year before. And I think Marathon beat them both times in the regular season last year. You got an edge coming back the next year. There's something to that coming into the next year, but
for sure.
I'm sure we'll get a little bit more into that in the Marywood Minute. Was the Garantula stomping down buildings or destroying families or whatever?
No.
What are your catchphrases?
Yeah, not last night.
Not last night.
People ask me, like, do you think about these ahead of time? And I don't. like maybe I should. They'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
Right?
No, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
I think off the fly, off the cuff, improvisation's working pretty well.
Yeah, the Garantula trampling buildings in downtown Tokyo was pretty good. Grant's a great kid.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm friends with the family and his mom especially, and it's nice to be able to broadcast more of their games this year, and a lot more to come.
Yeah, and another thing I have jotted down before we get into the rankings is we cover a lot of Eau Claire sports now these days. Obviously, Regis was just in Columbus. That's,
rivalry last night.
Yeah, Eau Claire Memorial boys took down the Eau Claire Huskies in that one. And, man, what a year it's been for Eau Claire Memorial so far, boys and girls. Because the girls' team, they gave Menominee, the Mustangs, their first loss of the season.
And Menominee's good.
Yeah, their first loss of the season last week. Been a pretty great year for Eau Claire Memorial sports so far this year.
Yeah, last year they were our all-access team.
Yeah.
And both seasons ended probably a little bit too early. The boys suffered the 116 upset last year, which was absolutely tragic, right? And it's really good that they've started out quick and they're having a very similar season to last year. When we talk about 116 upsets, we saw that in Virginia, right? Probably 6 years ago.
Yep.
The season after that, what did they do? They won the whole thing.
Yep.
Right? Purdue lost 116 last year. We'll see what they do this year. But being able to bounce back from losses like that, you learn a lot and you grow a lot as a team. And Eau Claire Memorial, I saw them against Spash 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. Spash has a great team, but Memorial played really well as well. So a lot going on. They probably the favorites in the sectional, or we made it a point not to talk playoffs yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're only halfway through the season. We're just getting to the halfway point, and there's lots of time for playoff talk. But that team has a chip on its shoulder.
Yeah. And like we talked about with Marathon, I think every season's a new season, but when you come back with similar players from a season where you feel like you lost earlier than you should have, game you should have won, it can sometimes drive the off season for you and into that next season in sports. And maybe we're seeing some of that with
and that is a big rivalry.
Yes.
There's not a lot of love lost between Memorial and North.
No. And then I think a huge game that surprised me last week, and we'll get into this when we get into our rankings, and I think the rankings will shift even more next week in small D5 in the Central Wisconsin South. Pacelli obviously lost their star player Jay Nowe a couple weeks ago, and now he'll be playing at Spash. For those of you that don't know, he'll be playing at Spash next year. But so they didn't have him, of course, but they had everybody else in that game. And
did they have Shirk?
I did. I looked at the video of that game, and that was one thing I did check.
Yeah.
Because I was texting with Coach Shirk. I have a decent relationship with Coach Shirk over there at Pacelli, and he was talking that Camden had an ankle injury or something like that. And I from the video it looked like he was out there. I didn't have the sound on, but I was just watching through, and I thought I saw Camden, kind of long athlete kind of body out there at number 13, I believe. Thought I saw him out there along with Logan Meyer, so that's their next best player. And man, Almond Bancroft, Aiden Phillips, I think TJ Lamb, next best player on that team. Tanner maybe goes by TJ. Covered their games a couple years ago. Dominant win at home to supplant Pacelli at the top of the conference now.
Yeah, that was a running clock game.
Yeah.
Even with the losses that Pacelli had, and losing Jaden absolutely crushes.
Of course.
A lot of the goals shift a little bit, right? It's the conference player of the year. And in a D1 prospect.
Yes.
Right?
Already has an offer from UW-Milwaukee,
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so D1 prospect in Division 5, local Division 5.
Yeah.
That's a big loss.
Yep.
But Pacelli just came off of a really close loss to Auburndale, who we talked about, undefeated in the Marywood.
Yes.
A division above them.
Yep.
So when I turned on the game and saw it was 39 or 59-20 with like 12 minutes left, I'm like, what is going on in this game? I was doing something. I was broadcasting, I think, somewhere.
As you do.
Yeah. And like, it was shocking to me. Almond Bancroft is legit.
Yeah.
They have a real good chance to make it to Madison this year.
Yeah, and again, starting the year, those were and this is something we can talk about too. I'll wait till the rankings to talk about this, but Pacelli girls, we can get into it in a little bit, but I had the pleasure of interviewing both Coach Shirk and Coach Smaglick of the girls team for our Coach on the Couch season previews this year. Those are the
both
two
are good
coaches.
teams this year.
Those are both two coaches I was able to interview, and obviously coming into this season for Pacelli, expectations were looking at their sectional, especially state with Jaden out there healthy.
Yep.
But now without him, and you take a look at what Almond Bancroft just did in that same sectional, like you said, we'll have time to talk about playoffs, but I mean, a shot for sure there. And Mike Wendlet has been telling me, watch out for Almond Bancroft. He tells me that all the time. He tells me about how good of a coach Coach Lamb is over there, and he is.
Yeah.
And they got a good program there. So Mike's been on the Almond train. Mike Wendlet.
He's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, Mike's a pretty smart guy. He told me about that, and I said, I don't know, Mike. I said, even without Jaden, I don't know. I'll openly admit, I said, with Camden Shirk in there and Logan Meyer, I think maybe Pacelli. But I think Mike got me on that one. They'll play again. They'll play again this year, so we'll see. But
but I mean, It was a smackdown.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. And like you said, surprising because they played Auburndale so close.
Yes.
In the previous game, which again you think maybe could have been a bigger win for Auburndale, but that was right down to the wire. I think Caden Weinford hit a last second shot in that game just to give Auburndale that win. So
yeah, Pacelli was up with 2 minutes left.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that. I mean, yeah. After that, like you said, maybe you're expecting, maybe they're okay, and it's still got games left. The season's not over.
Yeah.
Season's not over.
It's really hard to get your guys up game after game after game, and sometimes there are letdowns. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if when they play again, I think that was at Almond. Or
Yes.
Okay.
At Almond.
Yeah. So when they come back home later in the season, probably right at the end of the season, that's going to be a really close game. I would bet.
And Almond's a good team. I think that's probably the biggest thing we learned. Almond's really good. Yeah, they're a good team.
And probably a sectional semifinal game as well.
Yeah. I don't think any of us would be shocked if that was the match.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, should we get into the rankings?
Let's
should we
do
get into
rankings.
them? Again, reminder that if you're a Zaleski Sports VIP, it's just $5 a month. Go on ZaleskiSports.com. You'll get access to all of these rankings. The supercomputer, powered by Mike Wendlandt. Mike Wendlandt and the supercomputer tag team in to get you these rankings. Again, no opinions here. I know Jason talks about it every week, and I talk about it on our broadcast because it's we've been doing these last few years. Not an opinion poll. They are based on win losses and strength of schedule. Which is what the WIA kind of uses for the seeding.
It is almost the exact same formula.
Yeah, so that's what these rankings are. You can get full access to them, all the team rankings. We're going to go through the top 10 of each division right now. So we're going to start with the girls' side.
Arrowhead.
Yes, Division 1. It remains Arrowhead. Yes, it remains Arrowhead. Dan calls that one. Oregon. Number 2, Verona, the number 3 team. Kimberly, number 4. They just got a win against Auburndale, not Auburndale, Marshfield last week.
Yep.
Brookfield East, number 5. Number 6, Muskego. Number 7, Neenah. Number 8, Hortonville. Number 9, Eau Claire Memorial. Talked about them a little bit already. And number 10, Germantown. So just to recap, Arrowhead, Oregon, Verona, Kimberly, Brookfield East, Muskego, Neenah, Hortonville, Eau Claire Memorial, and Germantown.
Where are Jason Zaleski's Marshfield Tigers?
Marshfield Tigers.
13, 14, 15?
They are
they
not
dropped?
there. They
Oh.
are not there. Yes,
I feel for Jason. I feel his heart breaking right now.
Jason's the Marshfield, the Tiger stripes. He wears them loud and proud. Now, we'll get into the boys' side later, and he might have better news on that front on the boys' side. But yes, it looks like Marshfield nowhere in the top 20 is what I can tell you for on the girls' side. And I know you guys talked about it last week. They had a string of kind of losses there where. And that's what happens. If you lose games, you're going to drop down the rankings here.
That's how it works.
It's not an opinion poll. It's mathematical rankings. Stands out to me there. Neenah Hortonville back to back. What can we say about the Fox Valley Conference? Kimberly, Neenah, Hortonville, 3 of them in the top 10. But Hortonville did beat Neenah, and now head-to-heads don't matter really.
It doesn't matter
at all
Nope.
in these matchups. So Hortonville fans, if you're out there and like, hey, we beat Neenah, we should be higher. Head-to-heads don't matter. It's just going to be the total strength of schedule, but that was a heck of a game.
It is not an
last
AP
week.
poll.
Yeah, no, it is not a AP poll. I had the opportunity to be at that Neenah Hortonville game.
I know you were.
Rainey Wilson for Hortonville. Obviously, Neenah with Ali Zabel has got the best player in the state, or
she's number 1
player in the state, and 2 or 3 in the country, somewhere up there. She's going to UConn, so she's obviously the player that when I'm going into that game, looking to see Ali Zabel, and she played. Hortonville did about as good a job as you can do defensively against her in that first half, but then Rainey Wilson had 35 in that game.
It's crazy.
And coming off the year before where they beat Neenah in the postseason, and she had 41. I think in that game, I asked her after the game, was this his career high? She's like, no, I had 41 last year. I'm like, okay, all right.
Usually when a girl scores 40 or 35 or 41 in a game, it's because they're pressing, and 34 of them are on layups off of press. Not
that night.
Not this one.
If you haven't looked at those highlights yet, you want to see a great game with just unbelievable shots. Ali Zabel on one end, and then Rainey Wilson stole the show to me with just step back threes, attacking the basket. It was fun to watch. But those are your Division I rankings.
It kind of feels like a different game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Division I for sure.
Division I. Fox Valley.
In Fox Valley, yes.
And even Division I here, it feels like a different game.
Yes. The Fox Valley is, I talked with Kimberly's football head coach after they beat Spash in Level 2 football playoffs. And he went on and on about how they were going to play Neenah the next round, and they in the postseason he went on and on about how great the Fox Valley is, and he's got a point. I mean, it just is. I mean, it's at very least in the conversation for as good of a conference as there is in the state.
Yeah, it's probably number one.
Yes, I'd probably agree with you. And again, 3 teams in the top 10 for girls basketball. Enough said. With that.
Yeah.
Division II girls, Pewaukee number 1, Menominee stays number 2, Rice Lake number 3, Beaver Dam number 4, West De Pere 5, McFarland 6, Notre Dame 7, plus 11 or Pius 11 Catholic.
Pius, yeah.
Pius. Okay, Pius 11 Catholic, Monona Grove. And Lakeland.
Lakeland, my T-Birds.
Yeah. You a T-Bird fan?
I'm a Minocqua alum, yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts on that top 10? Menominee stays at number 2 even after their really tight loss to a good old Clare Memorial team, where we have them at number 9? Number 9 in Division 1.
Yeah, not a whole lot surprising there. Lakeland probably won't lose the rest of the year because the Great Northern is just not a very good conference at this point in time. So Lakeland, their win percentage will go up, the strength of schedule will go down, so they'll probably be somewhere between 9 and 12 or 13 the rest of the year. But yeah, no surprises in D2.
All right, let's move on to Division 3. Number 1, Elk Mound remains undefeated, 13-0. Number 2, Catholic Memorial. Number 3, Waupun. Number 4, Oostburg. Number 5, Edgewood. Number 6, Xavier. Number 7, Kettle Moraine Lutheran. Number 8, Edgerton. Number 9, Aquinas. There's your Aquinas girls team there at number 9. And number 10, Sheboygan Falls. Fun fact about Oostburg, I didn't know that school existed until earlier this year when I went to do a Pacelli volleyball match there.
All right.
That was, I have to say, shout out to the Oostburg athletic director, all the folks over there. That was really nice. They were very accommodating to everything we needed.
Nice.
So quick shout out to Oostburg. But thoughts on the top 10 of, I know you talked about Aquinas a little bit already for girls, but thoughts on the Division 3 top 10 there?
Yeah, and we don't have Division 3 schools around here, just generally speaking, right? But two teams that are kind of peripherally in our area, because we do have the Waupaca Comets.
Yep.
And that's Xavier and Fox Lutheran. Who is it?
Kettle Moraine Lutheran? No.
Maybe just Xavier. Just Xavier. Yeah. And they have a really good boys and girls program every year.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't pay too much attention in Division 3 because I don't. There are literally no schools around here.
Yeah, that's your top 10 for Division 3 though. Again, you want to look at the full top 20, ZaleskiSports.com, become a VIP to access the full rankings. Division 4 girls, here we've got some area teams.
We should.
Number 1, McDonald Central. I don't think a shock there.
Not
it's
a
still
surprise.
Undefeated. Number 2.
Those Division 5 schools are thrilled that they're Division 4 now.
Number 2, Laconia. Number 3, St. Mary Catholic, who we're gonna get into. We're gonna get into their loss this week. I'd like to talk about that. Number 4, Kewanee. Number 5, Neilsville. Number 6, Bonduelle. Number 7, Sheboygan Lutheran. Number 8, Fall Creek. Number 9, Bangor. And number 10, New Glarus. Now, again, St. Mary Catholic was undefeated. Lost to Pacelli at home. And we'll talk about Pacelli when we get to the Division 5 rankings. But what's your Neilsville at 5? I think they dropped 1 spot after that Assumption loss last week.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in there yet because that
you're right.
Because that was Monday.
That was Monday. You're right. That's not in there. That's up till this Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're right.
Bonduelle's in there. There's a couple local teams. Neilsville's big issue, and I don't know who they're bracketed against, right, or what sectional they're in, but you figure they're going to be in either the Bonduelle bracket or they're going to be in the Fall River / McDonald.
Yeah.
And that's going to be tough for them. I know that I've only watched them play twice this year, and Monday was the first time I really sat down, and I think that if teams are able to copy what Assumption did, Neilsville's going to struggle against the better teams this year. Yeah,
I've seen them once, but it was the first game of the year against Athens, and it was a huge, it was a blowout win. And I forget the name of the freshman. I apologize, but a freshman on their team lit it up in her first game. I think 25 or so points.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it was. I mean.
Freshman come in and score 25.
Again, that was my takeaway. That's who we interviewed after the game. But yeah, I've seen them once this year. Obviously, we know the reputation they have, and yeah, like you said, depending on their sectional, going to depend. Well, it'll be interesting to see. We'll have more.
But that's a big Pacelli win.
Yeah. So let's get into that. Let's get into Division 5 girls rankings. We'll talk about Pacelli a little bit. First off, number 1, no shock, Assumption Royals. Assumption Royals at number 1. Number 2, Argyle Pecatonica.
Yeah.
Hopefully I pronounced that right.
Yep.
Number 3, Cochrane Fountain City. Number 4, Lena. Number 5, Clear Lake. Number 6, Webster. Number 7, Pacelli. Pacelli Cardinals up at number 7, 12-1. Number 8, Lord's Academy. Number 9, Salem. And number 10, Greenwood. So
Greenwood, top 10.
Greenwood.
Amazing.
Greenwood.
Love it.
Yeah, they've had a lot of big blowout wins of recent, and that Clover Belt East.
Yeah, and they had that one-handed half-court shot to win early on in the season.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yes, and they're in the top 10 now. But again, I think we got to talk a little bit about Pacelli. We're here in Stevens Point, downtown Stevens Point. And again, I was able to talk with Coach Allison Smaglik, the first-year head coach for the Pacelli Cardinals.
Well,
this year.
Pacelli's had a lot of first-year head coaches.
And
lately.
we talked about that.
Okay.
That was one thing we talked about was this is their 4th coach in 4 years.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of turnover. That's really unfortunate, obviously, for the players when you have that. But I think based on my conversation with her, potentially this year, someone I think is going to be here for more than 1 year.
That's
would say.
good.
I think
great.
so. Yes. Yeah. And talking with her before the year, I think I was with Jason, Trevor, and Mike in Mequon a couple weeks ago at the Milwaukee and at the Concordia WBY shootout over there.
I had COVID.
Yeah.
Sad
sorry.
face. It wasn't good.
Yeah, there was good basketball there.
Yeah.
But I remember, I don't know if I said it to Mike or Jason. I'm like, I really think Pacelli girls is just a team to watch out for coming up. And I'm not saying I predicted anything. It was just based on my conversation with Coach Smaglik, and she was a college basketball player and everything like that. And she's got this Pacelli team at 12-1 with a bunch of freshmen. I mean, that's what this team. That's what they got.
It's crazy.
I mean, they got one senior. That's Casey Vaughn. That's their one.
That's amazing.
One senior, and I think Zdroik, their leading scorer this year, blanking on a first name. But and she told me in that interview to start the year, watch out for Jaden Zdroik. She said, watch out for her, and lo and behold, I think she's had a bunch of 20-point games this season.
That's awesome. Are they in the same sectional as Assumption?
That is a good question. I would have to double check that.
We don't know, but that would be interesting.
That would be interesting. Yes.
They usually play during the season.
They do. I don't have their schedule in front of me.
No.
But yes, that'll be interesting. Again, when the playoffs come around, it depends who's in your sectional.
Yep.
Obviously, Assumption has the 1. Pacelli being very young, could still be a tough game, but it'd be an interesting watch, especially 2 area teams here in Stevens Point and Wisconsin Rapids. So, but Pacelli up at number 7.
Love it.
They were 12-14 last year. That's, they already have 12 wins in 13 games. That's quite the turnaround. So, a little round of applause for Coach Smaglik there from me. 12-1 for the Cardinals. So now let's go to the boys side. Boys side of the rankings here. Division 1 boys rankings. Number 1, De Pere. Stays the same. We got to see them.
They've won like 40 in a row or
Yes,
something.
we got to see them at Concordia, and I think Jason said it last week. Best team we've probably seen this year on Zaleski Sports that we have seen. Number 2, Arrowhead, and they're number 1 in Division 1. So number 2, Arrowhead. Number 3, Spash Panthers, right here in Stevens Point, remain undefeated. Number 4, Marshfield at 11-1.
Those Tigers.
Yes, those Tigers. I said, Jason, the girls side dropped out of the top 20, but the boys. We got the boys Tigers up in that top 5.
And we have 2 Spash versus Marshfield games yet this year.
Yes. We've got such a few conference games in the Wisconsin Valley so far. We're going to get a couple of them. Number 5, Waunakee. Number 6, Westosha Central. Number 7, Eau Claire Memorial. Number 8, Germantown. Number 9, Kettle Moraine. And number 10, Appleton North. So, talk a little bit about Spash. I know you guys talked about Spash a little bit last week, and the Tigers for Jason's squad are up there in the top 5.
Yeah, we talked last week a little bit about how it was surprising because I really, and I'm not going to speak for Jason, but I think he feels similar, that the Valley Conference would be down this year. Mm-hmm. And it has been anything but. Spash has probably the best win between the two, at least, because they beat Memorial. Mm-hmm. And Marshfield, I think they might have 1 loss.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yes, 1 loss. 1 loss. As of Sunday,
yes. And there's some other teams in that conference that are pretty good. Wausau East. Jason and I were in Wausau East Friday night to see Dan Garrett's team. And they handled Rapids Lincoln, which isn't that much of a surprise this year. But those three teams are quite a bit ahead of the rest of the conference, and it's fantastic for our area and for the schools to have two highly ranked Division I boys basketball teams. Fantastic.
Yes, totally agree. And yes, it's hard to get better than two teams in the top five at this point in the season. And they play each other either way. That really shouldn't hurt your ranking with its ranked schedule in terms of that. So it has been a great year for the Wisconsin Valley. And speaking of that, let's move to Division II.
Okay.
Number 1 stays the same, Wisconsin Lutheran. Had a chance to see them at Concordia University as well.
Also very good.
Also very good. Number 2, Pewaukee. Number 3, Ashwaubenon. Number 4, New Richmond. Number 5, Wausau East. Number 6, Fox Valley Lutheran. Number 7, Burlington. Number 8, Stoughton. Number 9, Mosinee. Number 10, River Falls.
Yeah, a lot of big river schools.
Yep.
Wausau East, people are really surprised that they're so high in the rankings, but all they do is win.
Yeah.
And they have lost in conference. I think it was to Marshfield or Spash. I don't remember who it was. But even further down, we have Mosinee. Mosinee playing in the Great Northern Conference. I mentioned on the girls' side that Lakeland would probably cruise most of the year. Yep. Mosinee is going to cruise this year in the Great Northern. But Marathon does come calling next week, I think.
I mean, that's pretty close to a town to town. I mean, that's pretty close.
They're close.
Neighboring towns there. That's got to be a bit of a rivalry. I know there's some similar last names that have rotated through those two schools. I've noticed too.
Yeah, it really is interesting, right? Especially when you start doing this for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. The last names don't really change.
Yeah.
Just different kids come through. And I'm sure if we did it for 20, 30 years, we'd be like, I remember broadcasting their father. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the top two divisions are well represented in the area.
Yeah. And, man, Mosinee, just doing the baseball team, football team, they got a bunch of 3-sport athletes there that play all those sports.
A bunch of Jersleys.
Yeah, Jersleys.
They just keep coming through.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Division III. Number 1 in Division III, Lakeside Lutheran, remaining undefeated as of Sunday. Number 2, St. Thomas More, another team that played in that WBY shootout.
Marathon beat them.
Yeah.
Close game.
Which, they were a fun team to watch at the WBY shootout, that's for sure. Kiel, number 3. Number 4, Brookfield Academy. That's Columbus Catholic's lone loss of the season to Brookfield Academy, number 4 team, Division III.
They were really good that day.
Yes. And their coach before the game had nothing but amazing things to say about Columbus. I talked to him at length before the game. Brookfield Academy. Number 5, Lake Mills. Number 6, Brillion. Number 7, Carmen Northwest. Number 8, Xavier. Number 9, Elk Mound. And number 10, Dominican remains up in that top 10. Another WBY shootout team. As you mentioned, a lot of these D3 teams we don't see a lot around here. But here at Zaleski Sports, we did see
Kiel and Brillion.
Yeah, Kiel and Brillion, yep.
I don't remember who won that game, but it was Friday night. Whoever was the...
Based on the rankings, Kiel. They're 11-0.
Kiel won.
Brillion 12-1.
Yep.
And again, I know you guys talked last week. There was a huge matchup last week, and Kiel did get the win. So they're number 3 in the rankings. So we did see St. Thomas More on the Zaleski Sports Broadcast Network. Said Marathon and the WBY shootout. Saw Dominican in the WBY shootout as well. And Brookfield Academy. And I can tell you, I had the privilege of calling that Brookfield Academy game, and they just got athletes. They got pretty good size.
They really do.
They've got pretty good size, like a bunch of really, like a 6'3", 6'4" size guys. Not anyone that's going to sky over you, but guys with really good size and athletes. Guys that can run around. They really gave Columbus a tough task to score against them because they are so athletic. So that's an interesting team to look at there, Division III.
They look like a team that was 2 divisions higher than Columbus Catholic.
Yes, they did. And that's, again, why Columbus goes to play there, against those teams.
You get a lot out of it.
Yep. And they did get one win. Against Winnebago Lutheran over there. So now let's move to Division IV.
Bonduelle.
Yes, Bonduelle remains the number 1 seed. Number 2, Bonduelle, kind of an area team. Pretty close, not too far away.
They're in Marathon sectional.
Yeah, so there you go. Number 2, Mineral Point. Number 3, Kohler. Number 4, Marathon Red Raiders. Number 5, Darlington. Number 6, Auburndale. Again, these are as of Sunday. Does not take into account games that happened last night. Number 7, Sheboygan Lutheran. Number 8, Kenosha St. Joseph. Number 9, Horicon. And number 10, Howard's Grove. I know we got a couple of Marywood teams there. We'll talk about them. But, again, last night's game, Marathon beating Auburndale, has not taking into effect. That'll be next week's rankings. That'll take effect, and maybe it moves a little, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I think Marathon will end up being number one by the end of the year. Strength of schedule, that component of it is only going to go up because the Mirawood South has no below 500 teams.
Yes.
Right? So
I think we have Newman, that's it.
Yeah, Newman.
That's it. That is it.
Newman. But so every night, the strength of schedule just gets stronger and stronger and stronger compared to some of the other teams. So I expect them to be number one. Again, Bonduel, who is number one. They are in the same sectional and they're opposite sides, right? But we mentioned on the broadcast last night that the top four in that sectional, right, of how they're going to be seated is Marathon, Auburndale, Stratford, Edgar.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I can speak from experience playing in that same sectional, in that same conference. That is how it always feels like, and usually the Marawood South coaches will talk about this. You talk about great conferences.
Yeah.
Obviously Division I, Fox Valley, but for small school conferences, it doesn't feel like it gets better than the Marawood South because, I mean, you said it. Marathon, Auburndale, Edgar, Stratford, same sectional, and I have their records in front of me: 12-0, 11-2, 9-2, 8-3.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
crazy.
That's what you're looking at the top of.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have an all-Marawood regional final probably, and then an all-Marawood sectional semifinal.
Yeah, like 2 regional finals might be all Marawood,
Yeah.
and then a sectional semifinal. Feels like a conference tournament. A lot of these
It kind of
years.
does. Yeah.
And Assumption at 2 and 4 right now. I happen to have the conference standings right here, so I'll talk about it. But Assumption 4 and 7 overall. But let me tell you, they've got some young talent over there.
Really
in,
young talent
in Assumption. So maybe next year and the year after, that Assumption probably jumps back into that contending class.
Yeah, I would say for sure. And talking to Coach Paltz, I think the teams that beat them, the combined record's like 57-10 or something. Yeah. Like it's. You do the best you can, but the Marawood's tough.
Yes,
really tough.
It is. And was it last week, or did you guys already talk about this the week before that? The Neilsville Auburndale overtime. That might have been a couple weeks ago. It might be a little later.
It was last week.
It was last week. You talked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quadruple overtime. Shoal hit the winner.
Overtime. Yes, I watched the end of that a little bit, and the only reason that came to my mind is because Assumption we're kind of talking about feels like a team a little bit better than their record, maybe.
Yeah.
Neilsville, I feel also, I've seen them a couple of times. They played Columbus stuff probably better than their record this year as well, just based on the games I've seen from them this season. But that's Division 4.
Division 5.
Division 4 rankings. Yep, let's drum roll. Get to Division 5. Number 1, reclaiming their spot, is the Columbus Catholic Dons.
There we go.
Back atop. Potosi drops back down to number 2. Number 3, North Crawford. Number 4, Cashton. Number 5, Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran. Number 6, Abundant Life. Number 7, Salem. Number 8, Salon Springs. Number 9, Almond Bancroft, up into the top 10. And number 10, Reedsville, is your top 10. Pacelli now falls out of that top 10 again. Losing your best player, it's tough to handle midseason. But
is that game factored in? Was that Monday or Friday?
That was Friday. So I believe that game was factored in. Yes, that was. All I don't believe that was Monday. Again, it's hard to. These games just blend together.
They
when you
really
broadcast
do.
so many, it's just
they
just blend together. And but I believe that was last week, Friday, or actually no, I think it was Monday.
I think it was Monday.
It was Monday. Because yes, now that I think about that, I'm thinking back to my text conversation with Coach Shirk. He did say Monday he hoped to have Camden back from the injury. So yep, it was Monday. So that has not taken into effect yet. So Almond Bancroft at again as of Sunday, their record was not 11-1. Now you get a win against Pacelli, who they were at number 15. They're at number 15. Not a good win.
It is a good win.
We'll see where they can where they move. But again, Columbus reclaims their spot atop with a couple of wins. Again, they've pretty much owned their conference this year, as was expected. I think that Neilsville could push them in their second game. I don't know if they can beat them.
Yeah.
Coach Konechny, after one of his games, said he doesn't think any team in that conference will go undefeated. I think he was being modest there. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The coach has to say that.
Coach has to say that. I think we probably expect Columbus to go undefeated. And for the record, I was at producing the Coach on a Couch interviews that we did at Not Sleep in Marshfield that Jason and Gene Delisio conducted there, and Larry Hazer. There we go. Get names right. From Neilsville conducted there, and a lot of those Clover Belt East coaches, talk about expecting Columbus to win the conference. So it's been that kind of year for the Dons, and now they're getting Emmett Konechny back. We already talked about that. If they can get him back, worked into the lineup where he's the primary ball handler again, they're able to figure that out. They feel like the best team. They're ranked number one. That feels right in Division 5 this year. And then talking about Almond Bancroft already. A team that's probably better than any of us expected, unless you're Mike Wendlandt. Then you told us.
True.
Then you told me all year and all last year that this team is really good.
Yeah, I believe Columbus Catholic goes Southwest sectional this year.
Yes.
And
they moved.
And Alban Bancroft stays here.
Yes.
In the local area that goes north and northeast.
Yes. Almond will be with Pacelli, and there in Columbus moves to, I don't know the exact teams that are there, but yes, I think it's west.
Yeah, I think Assumption goes with them. So like Columbus, Assumption, and then it's the Wazika Steuben's and Potosi and all those guys. So yeah.
Well, Potosi.
Yeah.
I mean,
Potosi's good.
Top 2 right there. I mean, that should be a interesting matchup there.
So we might have 2 teams in Madison. We'll just have to see.
We might. From Division 5, you're saying? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's what maybe that's what I was thinking coming into the year, but I was thinking Columbus and Pacelli. That was the thought with Jay Nawe in there, along with the rest of the team they have. But yeah, now it feels like looking at the sectional, Columbus maybe, and Almond maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't complain about that. I know that.
We wouldn't. And the winner of the local sectional that Almond's in, usually the sectional final is a 10 and 16 team. Yeah. Right? That plays in that Division 3 Packerland Conference. Mm-hmm. That comes out. Gibraltar or whatever. Yep. That's seeded like 8 or 9, but they played really tough teams, and then they just crush all the Northeast teams and get to the end. So nothing is guaranteed, of course, but if you're Almond, you got to like your odds. You really do.
I think so. And speaking of that, I mean, the Aiden Phillips kid, he's been really good for them. He started as a freshman, so you've got experience there. And the Lamb kid I know started, I believe, as a freshman as well, at least as a sophomore. So they've got some experience in there. The thing that's always in that Central Wisconsin South, you got to make sure you're playing competition throughout the year. As Central Wisconsin South this year at least, and is not always the most elite small school conference. Put it that way. But Pacelli and Almond, 2 good teams in there this year. But those are your rankings.
I like it.
Those are your rankings here for this week. Again, no opinion poll with this. This is the supercomputer tag teaming with Mike Wendlandt's brain.
Yeah.
On this,
true.
I mean, it's Mike Wendlandt using the supercomputer, or inputting the numbers into the supercomputer.
He has to input every winner of every game in the state.
Painstaking work.
It really is.
I mean, work that most people probably wouldn't want to do. Just sitting there and typing in numbers. Mike sacrifices his time, and he does that, and that's how we have these rankings.
It is fantastic to see the numbers, though. It really is. I love it.
Yeah, and we're getting close. Girls basketball really getting close to getting, a few weeks away.
Yeah, we are at the halfway point for girls, for sure. A lot of teams have 12, 13, maybe 14 games played out of 24.
Yeah,
so,
and most of them are going to come this month for both, right?
It's true.
In January, so that going to be a lot of games coming at you really quick. By the end of the month,
we will know what's going on.
Yes, we'll know what's going on. Yeah. But those are your rankings. Again, you can access these rankings at ZaleskiSports.com. Become a VIP. Pay just $5 a month. You'll get access to all these rankings. We went through the top 10 today, and learning some things. We're learning some things as this season goes along. Now I think, what do you say? Get into some of the Zaleski Sports broadcast schedule coming up?
Sure, yeah.
Sounds good to me. Now you're going to have to help me out. So there's some schools, you have more experience in this area than I do. You know. So there's some schools I don't know. We got an abbreviation, WRIGH at Wapaka. Wrightstown at Wapaka. Thank you. That's the one I needed help with. The one game I needed help with. Wrightstown at Wapaka. Girls basketball tomorrow night. And I'm counting up the games here we got tomorrow night with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a jillion. They got like 12 of them tomorrow night. So it starts with at 5:45 p.m. Wrightsville at Wapaka girls basketball. Then we're gonna have a wrestling meet in Amherst.
All right.
Edgar, Tri-County, and Wittenberg, Burnhamwood are gonna be heading over to Amherst for that wrestling matchup. Then we're going to have boys basketball, Wild Rose at Pacelli. Pacelli are going to be looking for a bounce-back conference win there.
Yep.
And then another Central Wisconsin South matchup would be in Pittsville, boys basketball, Port Edwards at Pittsville.
That should be a good game.
Yeah, that should be a close game. You're looking for if you're trying to scour this lineup for close games, that should be one. I agree.
I won't say every game is close on the network, but that should be a close one.
But there's a lot of games to choose from.
There are a lot
of games to choose from. Then we got Wrightsville at Wapaka boys basketball, so it's a doubleheader there in Wapaka. Girls first at 5:45, boys at 7 p.m. Wrightsville at Wapaka. And then we have some hockey, as we always do. DC Everest hosts Wausau East in a boys hockey matchup tomorrow night. All these starts are 7 p.m. And then boys hockey at Eau Claire Memorial is New Richmond at Eau Claire
New
Memorial.
Richmond has a good hockey team.
There you go.
As does Memorial.
Should be a good matchup if you're a hockey fan. Those hockey fans out there. Snow's coming down. It looks like hockey weather. Looks like the inside of an ice rink right now.
It does. There's more snow here than Wausau.
Yeah, wow.
That.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the first time all year, there's snow out here, really.
It's true.
And then we've got game I'll be at, Auburndale Stratford girls basketball matchup. And I'm sure you'll talk a little bit about the girls' boys sides in your Mayor 1 minute. But Auburndale beat Stratford. I was at their game last week. They're playing actually twice in the span of 1 week. Last Thursday, Auburndale beat Stratford in Auburndale. Now head to Stratford, see what happens there. I think two somewhat evenly matched teams there. Auburndale's very young. Both teams with a lot of new faces this year. A lot that kind of going around in the Marywood South for girls this year with new faces. And speaking of that, Edgar at Marathon, is that where you're going to be, Dan?
I'm guessing I'll be there.
Yeah, I'm guessing you'll be there. All right. Find out tomorrow night. Tune into the Edgar Marathon game to see
if it's being broadcast. I will be there.
All right, so that's where Dan will be. Edgar at Marathon, girls basketball, and then we've got Columbus at Greenwood. Joe Anderson will be on the call for that one. That'll be the first game this year I'm not doing at the Downs.
Girls or boys?
Or boys, sorry. Excuse me. Did I
Okay.
say girls? Yeah, I meant boys. Columbus Catholic at Greenwood boys basketball. So that's the one team
That
in
should
the
not be
conference.
that close.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, it shouldn't be.
You should still watch.
Yes, you should still watch.
You get to see Emmett play.
Yes, you get to see Emmett play, and even more than that, you get to see Columbus play. Because if anybody of you watching out there, you're not that familiar with the Dons, I don't know, you're from a different part of the state, or you're watch Division I schools, whatever. The Dons are a really fun team to watch play the sport of basketball. If you're just a fan of good basketball,
Very disciplined.
yes, disciplined. Every single player on the team can launch from three-point range. Yep. They're all athletic. They move the ball up and down the court incredibly quickly. They're probably going to draw about 8 charges every game because they try to use their lack of size to their advantage. They're a fun team to watch. And I'm biased. I get to watch them, cover them, but they really are. Number 1 team, Division 5. A fun team to watch. Highly recommend watching their games. Well, let's move on to tomorrow. Friday, or two days from now, Friday night. We've got Spash at Wisconsin Rapids, boys basketball. Wisconsin Valley matchup there. Hamilton, Wauwatosa West, boys basketball at Wauwatosa West. Girls basketball, Wittenberg Burnhamwood at Waiwega Fremont. Girls basketball, Pacelli at Wild Rose. Girls basketball, Columbus Catholic at Spencer. Girls basketball, Merrill at DC Everest. More girls basketball. This is the game where I'll be at Friday night. Wausau West at Marshfield girls. First time I'll get a chance to see either of those teams play this season. Wausau West, Marshfield girls. Boys basketball, it is Shy High, Chippewa Falls at Eau Claire Memorial. That's what they call Chippewa Falls, right? Shy High, right?
Yep,
I got that right? Okay. Shy High at Eau Claire Memorial. Kind of a rivalry there-ish, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Big Rivers matchup.
Yeah. Lakeland at Mosinee, boys basketball. Edgar at Marathon, boys basketball.
I'll be there.
Always an interesting. I mean, Marathon will be the favorite to win that game. We know how good they are, but
Edgar
Edgar's
plays
a physical team.
Yeah, Edgar plays Marathon tough
Oh, man.
every time.
They're a physical team. I talked with Coach Weinfurter, my old basketball coach, the Auburndale Eagles coach, after they beat Edgar in Edgar, and the talk after every single Edgar game is, man, it was physical. It was physical.
They're football
yes,
players.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most of the guys that are on the basketball team were on the football team, and they
It's true.
bring a little bit of that. They try to push it right up to the brink of a foul. They push it right to the brink there. It's always physical game, and that should be an interesting one there. Marywood South, Edgar at Marathon. Let's see, we got Fond du Lac at Kaukauna, boys basketball. Kaukana's been fantastic all year long. Most years, Kaukauna is pretty fantastic. Girls basketball, Spash at Wisconsin Rapids. So that's another doubleheader. Boys, girls, Spash, Wisconsin Rapids. Head over to Wisconsin Rapids, watch some boys and girls basketball. Wisconsin Valley. Action there. And do we have any Saturday? No events.
How about tonight? How about tonight?
How about tonight? I don't have anything tonight. Got nothing. Or am I misspoken there? I might be giving misinformation.
Yeah, I think there's a Milwaukee game tonight.
Okay, let me get to I finished my Saturday thought. We'll get to tonight. My Saturday thought, I said, I don't know if we have a game, and then I realized I have a game Saturday.
All right.
I'm going to St. Mary's Springs for Pacelli boys basketball. I'm taking a couple-hour road trip. Trying to find a producer on Pacelli's JV team to run camera for me right now. But I'll be there. That'll be my first game doing a Pacelli boys game this year, so that'll be fun. I did them for a few years ago. But
I remember that.
Yeah, St. Mary Springs and Pacelli. Well, so that's your Saturday Zaleski Sports lineup. Watch the game. Pacelli's still fun to watch. You want to see some dunks? Camden Shook will probably throw a couple down.
Yeah.
I mean, he can get up there and dunk still. So, but yeah, let's look at tonight. Dan, I had the future scheduled and I didn't look at tonight. And yes, you're right. Brookfield East in Germantown is on in a couple hours.
Yeah.
7 p.m.
Well, yeah, we are expanding into the Milwaukee market. So really exciting.
Yes.
These schools they want us there, right? And I'm not saying that some of the schools in this area are spoiled with Zaleski Sports, right?
A little bit they are.
Where they expect to have us in there every night.
Yep.
And then you go to different parts of the state and they know of Zaleski Sports and they're over the moon that we're coming to their gym, and they they actually put the spread out for them, and they give them drinks and stuff.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
When was the last time that Columbus Catholic gave you food and drink?
Yeah, not any. No, I don't know if I might have declined. They give me some water, maybe. Mosinee a great school.
They always give candy and water and stuff.
They're always giving everything to us. Yeah, we like to be spoiled. We do. We like to be spoiled.
We're the media.
Yeah. We're spoiling you guys a little bit with the coverage. We like to be spoiled back a little bit. Of course, nothing against Columbus there, but yes, you are right. When we're there all the time, it's just human nature. You get accustomed to it, and it's like, oh yeah, the Zaleski Sports is here. They're
and the kids too. The kids are really used to us. These kids in Milwaukee. This is the biggest thing that's happened to them all season. I
mean, I can say what I've been doing this broadcasting for 4 years. My 4 years now doing this, and it is the same when we go to schools where we don't typically go to. It is the same every single time, and that's athletic director coming up to you saying, "How can we get you guys to come do more of our games? We love this. Loved you for coming here," because there's just. The coverage isn't necessarily there for the high school sports outside of what we do. So that's what we do it for. We try to highlight these kids, highlight these high school student athletes, these programs, and a lot of great basketball, a lot of great sports if you go to the right game. If you're
contact Jason at ZaleskiSports.com.
There you go.
Tell him you want him there.
Yeah, and Matt and Elijah heading that Milwaukee team. I had the pleasure of showing them how to. Me and Mike kind of help them train them there in Concordia, and they did a great job there.
And that's where Jason is. Tonight.
Jason is there. He's with them. So that's how you knew that is where. That's
how about
Jason's not here.
It's all part of it.
I didn't even know why Jason wasn't here tonight.
It's all part of it.
Dan said, "Hey, do you want to come do the show?" I said, "Sure, I'll do the show."
We were going to do a show a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't make it, unfortunately.
I was supposed to be here a couple weeks ago. You're right.
Is it time for the Marywood Minute?
I think it is.
I
think we have gotten to that point. Yes. So
fantastic.
I'll hand it over to you, Dan.
All right. Welcome to this week's Marywood Minute, brought to you by Mid-State Technical College. New faces in the studio today. Jason must be on another vacation. Just saw him last night in Auburndale trying to smear a cupcake on my face. Either way, the show must go on, and maybe an upgrade this week with Kale in the studio. Maybe he can join us more regularly with maybe a CWC rundown or a Clover Belt conference, something. Maybe.
I could probably whip something up.
Yeah. Until he leaves us all for London this spring. Don't forget the little people when you're a famous movie producer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's going to London. We're going to lose him.
I am heading overseas for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
A couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years. Boys basketball, undefeated Clash of the Titans in Auburndale. Number 4 Marathon travels to number 6 Auburndale, and Marathon left zero doubt about who's the best team in early January. A 21-point victory on the road to improve to 12-0. Without a starter, True Thurs, he has not been playing. So, team probably room to improve yet.
It's Columbus-like right there.
Yeah. Marathon's getting better as the season goes on. Could be something special happening for them in 2024. In crossover play, the South won the day last week. That usually happens. Although a north win by Rib Lake over Assumption prevented a home sweep. Rib Lake's win last night against Phillips gives them a 1.5 game lead. So every week I give power rankings of the schools. Number 5, and these are based on the seed scores.
Okay.
right? I haven't seen like the North teams. It's not fair to them. So number 5 is Stratford at 8-3.
Okay.
Rib Lake, number 4. They're actually jumping up now. They're 9-2.
They're good this year.
They are good. Number 3 is Edgar, 9-2. Number 2, Auburndale, 11-2. And number 1, Marathon at 12-0. So 4 of these teams are in the South: 12-0, 11-2, 9-2, 8-3. That's 4 of the 6 teams.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Compare it to the girls coming up here. Girls basketball. Congratulations to the Assumption girls basketball team for doing something that has never been done before. They beat Neilsville.
Yep.
A game that they're in control of most of the way. They have a big game Friday at Aquinas. It won't be on Zaleski Sports because of rights fees.
That's always nice.
Kale, is it too soon?
Too soon for rights fees?
Yeah.
So we've got. I mean, are we saying where the rights fees coming from? Like this is.
It's from the school, right?
It's from
It
the
is
school.
is at Aquinas.
So this is a.
We went back and forth. And I say we. Zaleski Sports went back and forth, and they were at first it went at thousands of dollars, like for a regular season girls basketball game, like probably not.
Probably not.
How about if we come to the school and broadcast the game and do a really good job and really showcase the athletes? Yeah. And they said no. So
maybe that's on me. I think I did the last Aquinas game for us. I did their volleyball sectional semifinal win over Stratford, and maybe they just said this guy sucked. Like we don't want this was terrible. We don't want this again.
I think they just wanted to pinch us for money. That's what I think it was.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the first time.
I mean,
think, right?
to all their own, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, the schools have to make money, so
Yeah.
it just won't be on us.
I mean,
time.
if you don't want it, you don't want it. That's okay. I mean,
it's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go elsewhere.
Big shout out to sharpshooter Jordan Jaglinski. Right, she is about to break the all-time made threes in Assumption history. She's a sophomore.
Now, is that Jags' daughter?
It
That
is.
is. I figured
is.
as much. I figured as much.
Yeah, Jaglinski. There's not that many.
Yeah, there's not.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Thankfully, if there were more Jaglinskis out there, the world's in trouble.
That's. Yeah.
It's true. Auburndale girls still undefeated in conference. The eye test kind of tells us that Assumption will be favored. They play just like Auburndale and Stratford are playing back to back. Auburndale and Assumption will play back to back.
Okay.
Just postponed games earlier in the year due to banned people playing at the Thanksgiving parade or something. I don't remember what it was. Myrwood North, Athens girls are coming to life. Sophia Coker coming to life. She scored 30-something the other night. Fantastic.
Good post player.
Yeah. They don't have Lavica this year. And if they had Lavica...
Do we know, is there any chance for coming back? Have we heard any
I don't
updates
know.
on that? 'Cause
I ask Jason all the time, and
Okay.
and Jason doesn't know, but I like asking him.
So maybe I can give you an update.
Okay,
I mean, I don't have any recent update.
All right,
but I was
let's
at their
hear it.
first game of the year,
Yeah.
and I talked to their coach, Kincaid Keefe, before the game, and I asked, do you think maybe she'll be back at all this year? And she said, maybe to start the new year. That was in November.
Okay.
She said maybe in January, but that was like the earliest that she was saying she was going to be back. So that's all the update I have that I could give, which is not very up to date. It's a couple months ago now. But
Well, I tell you what.
that's what I have.
If she comes back, and if she is effective, if she's 80% what she was last year, that team's going to state this year.
I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I mean,
Yeah.
you have, again, I've seen them play twice. Once against Neilsville, and they lost big in that game, but again, without...
First game of the year.
First game of the year without Lavica, and then I saw them against Stratford where they won in overtime.
All right.
And again, in a game where Athens has more scoring talent, for sure, but Stratford
Athletes.
Stratford, I've seen them play a lot this year, the girls team. They just muddy up game. They just make it... I mean, Coach Christopherson on the defense side of the floor has that team... They did a nice job against Coker inside. So that was an interesting game to see. But Giselle Hartwig is an unbelievable defensive player for them, too. So, yeah, you're right. I think if they get their best player back, Lavica, that's a game changer. Right?
And kind of a weak sectional. They have Lena, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Right? So a chance for Athens to make it special.
Yeah.
Coming off, again, a heartbreaking loss of injury from last summer, wasn't it?
I
think it was summer.
around there. Yeah.
Okay, they're currently tied for first. Phillips won the first meeting. January 25th is the rematch, and that's going to be pretty much who's going to win the conference. Athens still has Assumption, though, coming up in the schedule.
Same thing for volleyball in that Merriwood North Phillips Athens late season game. Came down to, and Phillips got
athletes.
the best of that. Yeah.
It is athletes. Athens has athletes.
Yes.
Basketball players, maybe, right? Phillips has basketball players.
Yep.
So sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. Power rankings. Number 5, Abbotsford, 7-5. A little bit different than Number 4, Athens, 8-6. Number 3, Auburndale, 10-3. Number 2, Phillips, 10-2. And number 1, Assumption, 12-0. Again, Jason is out partying all week, just like this week's Merwood Minute. And that's it.
This one's Merriwood Minute. Partying all week. Good stuff.
That's right. It's getting late, Caleb. We got to get going.
It's getting late. I know. I've been rambling. I told you we got to. You got somewhere to be. You got to get to Wausau here. So
I do.
I'm keeping you late, but I think that's it for us today. We got through the Merriwood Minute. I think we got through everything. Right? I didn't miss anything. I tried.
You did a great job hosting.
Right.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, you know, you're a good co-host. That's my co-host carry the show. So that's gonna do it for the Zaleski Sports Show here this week. Come back next week, right? Again, probably be back. I think so. Yeah. Dan will be here for sure. Jason probably here.
Well, who knows?
Maybe. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
He might be on another
Yep.
vacation.
Yep. I'm gonna have to set a mannequin down here or something. To have a fake conversation with. But it'll be next week. Zaleski Sports Show again. We got games all week long. Tune in. Zaleski Sports. A lot of Merriwood games. A lot of whatever conference.
Yeah.
You know what we got. You know what we do. And that's gonna do it for the Zaleski Sports Show. Everybody, have a good night.
Have a great night.
Have a great Wednesday night. Yeah. Watch some sports tonight, Milwaukee, and tomorrow night, Friday night, Saturday. Zaleski Sports.